Hey everybody, it's Jo Parr, founder of the Ladies Working Dog Group. Are you feeling stuck with your gun dog training? Trust me, you're not alone, and that's exactly why you need to be here. Every week, we're bringing you the best tips and hacks to make training your gun dog easy peasy. We'll keep it straightforward, no fuss, just actionable guidance that you can put straight to use. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of Found It, Fetched It. This week we are going to be talking all about effective dog training, and we are going to have this conversation with our guest expert, Jamie Penrith. If we think about it, because I grew up in a small holding, and Dad hadn't had this small holding long, he moved from a street, so he didn't really know a lot about farming. He was starting out doing that. And I literally think that every single dog growing up, for me, Dad taught me from the time I could understand, with pups, everything, the minute they look at livestock, you say their word, sheep, and you not scream it, but it'd be like sheep, and like really mean it. And I've always done that with my dogs. I didn't realize people didn't do that with their dogs. It's very clear to my animals, and certainly for dogs who are on estates, they have to be able to run past the sheep and ignore them, or run past the cattle and pretend like they're not there and still do their job. They cannot be distracted by it. And I think, again, when you look at like common ground, common sense, if my child ran towards a road, I would scream at them, even if just to distract them enough to bring them back towards me. There would be something. If my child was standing on top of the cooker, I would scream at them because I would be so scared of what happened to them. I would make it really clear I wanted to get down. I probably would frighten them because I wouldn't want them going there again, because of what you just said. It's not what they do in front of us, it's what they do when we are not there.
Right.
I want my teenage children to be able to walk next to a road and know you don't step in front of a car, because that is death. I want it to be an automatic thought. I don't want their friends the other side to be such a distraction to them that they just bolt out. I want them to think, oh, road, stop a minute, look what's coming left and right. We make it so clear to them. We need to make that about other things. We need to make it about the cat next door. We need to be about little children running in the street are not something that you want to chase, because kids are small, they scream, they run really fast. Everything to a dog, and their prey drive probably says, oh, should I go and have a little go there? You want the dog to have enough self-control to think, I don't chase things that go past me really fast, all that type of behaviours. So do you think owners who are like on the fence about using certain tools because they're in a situation where their dog is already responding to that prey drive of chasing things it shouldn't, or is starting to show behaviours where you're like, the basics here are not enough with this dog, I'm working with the dog in front of me, it's disengaged from me, more engaged in its environment, more engaged in doing what it wants to do, being self-employed? What do you think you could say to them about looking at the options available?
So what I would say to somebody when you're talking about the environment offering something better, I think probably around maybe about 13 years ago, something like that, I wrote a blog piece and I basically said, Jacks don't trump aces. And you can play a game. You can play a game where you hold the best card. If I've got a king, I've got kings. And I'm almost always going to win with my kings. My recall is bang on. That's my king. Until the environment throws an ace and I lose. I lose. And so what I need to do is be aware of the fact that is probable, not even possible, in most cases, probable, because you could think, yeah, I've only lost them once or twice, or they're good. When somebody says I've got a 95% recall, the 95% of the time they're good. I think, okay, the 5% of the time when it matters, they're not. That is what you're basically saying in that sense. So it's the 5% that you need to focus on, because once you've got that 5%, you're absolutely laughing. So where somebody is thinking, my dog's great in this situation, but then they're not in that situation, or they chase after something and they've learned to chase after something. One mistake that people make in thinking is that the dog is sticking two fingers up to them. Or I think, so I got an online training program and I cover this a lot. I talk about it a lot, but is looking at it from the dog's perspective rather than the human perspective. I think, you little sod, exactly what that whistle means, because we've done this umpteen times in that field over there or whatever, or in this field. And now you've just decided, See, I'm gone. From the dog's point of view, in this particular moment, when that whistle is blown, the environment has laid an ace. And I'm going for that ace. I'm going to take that ace, not because I'm sticking two fingers up at you or because I think I don't care about the recall, but because I have never experienced any reason to do anything other than take the ace. And dogs require those experiences in order to build expectations that will then drive their behavior, their decision making. So if I want, I can go back to basics and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat, but I'm still going to get to the same game where an ace is laid. So I need to be able to say, okay, let me put you in a situation where I can now allow experiences to be taught to you that will make you make the decisions that I want you to make, so that you can think, it's this environment, I know what happens here, I still got to turn, I still got to turn, and looking at it more from the dog's point of view. So anything where you think, I lose my dog, I've got a GWP or whatever, prey-driven Springer, and I think I lose them in this situation, they're absolutely swines in this situation. Anything is possible, anything is changeable, resolvable, provided that the dog has got life and has got motivation, whether that's to run away from you more than it is to run towards you. You can alter that. You can alter that and you can modify it to work for you. And it isn't difficult. As long as you're consistent, as long as you're fair, it isn't difficult. But just what I would say is just remember that all the dog is looking for is a moment in time is, how do I, in a human term, how do I better my state of affairs right now? Each time that I'm going out, I'm looking to do what's best for me, what's best for me. I'm working for you because it's best for me. I come back when you call me because it's best for me. All of this sort of stuff. And if I know that, and I know that I can add things or I can remove things that will make you think it's better for me to do this, or whether that's stopping, whether that's recalling, whether that's healing and ignoring, whatever it happens to be, because I've had experiences that have taught me that it's in my best interest. But it's absolutely one thing that I would like to hammer home is that it is absolutely possible. And there is no, it's not about harming animals, using correctives, using negative experiences, using aversives. It's not about harming animals. It's quite the opposite. It's about providing experiences so the animal can make decisions based on those experiences that benefit you both and others. When you were saying about the road there and the child joke, again, that's a brilliant example of, and I've said it myself before, if a toddler is walking towards a road, and if I say to it, and I know that my toddler across the other side of the road is a school gates or ice cream van if it's 1970s, or something where I know that you're going to be encouraged to run across that road if I'm not present. You say you're outside playing in the street, and then I think I can't, I've told you, but the temptation to go across there is too much. You keep doing it or whatever, and I'm on pins. If I arrange with the driver, I said, I'm going to open the door and let her out. I said, when she comes out, do us a favor. Drive your van around that road and blast that bloody horn the second she's on the edge of that curb. And the driver does that, and the child's like that. And everything inside of them is elevated. My heart rate goes up, my blood pressure goes up. Everything is this state of, oh my God. But then I come down and I'm all right. Nothing's actually happened to me. I'm caused to think it has, but it hasn't. I'm physically sound. But the psychological impact of stepping out from that curb into that road, now that I've been startled like that, is intense, and it will last. And that's the thing where you don't, just because you're talking about something that something finds unpleasant, one, unpleasant doesn't mean unnecessary, or it doesn't mean that it's anti-welfare or that it's unkind. And two, it doesn't mean that it needs to be physically damaging. Do you know what I mean? It's just something that has an impact, an experience that allows the organism, the dog, the child, to change their behavior based upon it.
This really is turning into a masterclass, and I will absolutely share the video with our society member. The podcast obviously will go out publicly. But I think the one thing you hit on there, and I think that is something that I really want everyone to take away, but definitely our members, that emotional elevation, even if we think from our own perspectives, the things like a smell will send, we smell something and we can remember going on holidays when we were a teenager or something like that. It's something, that emotional elevation is what sticks and what makes it work, isn't it?
Yes.
You don't, without going into psychology there, that one thing means the next time that toddler runs the road, they stop because they're like, where is that thing that made that noise? Because something in their mind overrides their want, their desire, that sound becomes your ace.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It absolutely does. And do you know what's better than that as well? Is once that toddler goes to that curb and stops, and I think, nothing, and I cross, that reinforces stopping. It reinforces checking. It reinforces the safety behavior. It reinforces the right response. I don't need to keep hearing car horns. I don't need to keep jumping out of my skin. My success comes from the fact that I avoided that and I can go on and get what I want to get the right way around it because I've been taught the right way to do things. It's simple, but sometimes I think that can sound patronizing to a lot of people, but it's simple when you look at it in a way where you think, this is no different. This is no
Yeah.
different. Whether it's a snap on a slip lead, whether it's a telling off for the word no or verbal reprimand, whatever, or whether it's electronic collars use goes above and beyond. You can train dogs very effectively with remote collar inclusion, levels on a remote collar that are imperceptible to a human, but the dog can feel it. So that's all that matters. But again, it's about, for me, it's about, does that car horn, does that experience serve to promote your protection? I did very quickly on that, I did a TV interview a few years back, and Richard Madeley was on interviewing me. And one thing that stuck in my mind that Richard Madeley said, where I thought, wow, this is where the problem is. He said, so what you're saying is it's not that bad and it's better than running out and getting hit by a car. And then he said, I have to say, I'm not convinced. And you think, what sort of world do you live in then, where you think that it's better to get hit by the truck than it is to get the startle to think, I better not? It's insane.
And I suppose the people who are like of level sound mind, shall we say, and they are open-minded and listening to this, is understanding that, like we just said, that horn, that once, if you were blasting that horn over and over, it actually decreases the consistency, doesn't it?
That's like you snap nagging on a slip lead.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the same thing.
it just doesn't work. The whole point of this is to make that connection in their mind that this one thing is not a good thing. So I'm not going to do that one thing. And like you just said, every single time they stop and there isn't that sound and then they cross the road, it reinforces that good behavior.
Right.
And it's for people to understand, we are not saying in any way to be harsh or abusive or any of those things, that those terms that are attached to this type of training. We're not saying that is what you need to do. What we're saying is you need to put something in your dog's mind where it goes, what mom is saying is actually the right thing, the right choice, not me choosing to run out in front of the car.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think on that term of whether or not, whether it's abusive, or, to me, I was thinking this just this weekend, when watching things going on, I thought, when I do something with my dog and it's a training exercise with my dog, I'm either doing something to make something happen more, or I'm either doing something to make something happen less. In either one of those instances, if what I'm doing doesn't cause that to happen, so I don't get sharper responses, I don't get more reliable responses, or I don't get a reduction in behaviors that I don't want to see, then what I'm doing, one, isn't working. So I've got to learn to stop it because it isn't going to suddenly start working where it hasn't been. And the other thing is I've got to question, what is that then? If I'm snapping away on a dog on a slip lead or anything, if it's wearing a head halter or anything, or if it's a dog that's rasping forwards in a normal collar, if that is my normal routine with that dog, or I stop and wait for them to come back and walk on, stop and wait for them to come back, or I yell at them or what, and it doesn't see a decrease in the behavior I don't want and an increase in the behavior that I do want, then I would say that is borderline. I don't know what you would call that. A waste of time is one thing, but where it's physical,
the saying is
unfair.
insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome, isn't it? So really, that's what we're saying. If you continue to do the same stuff and your dog continues to do the same stuff, that is insanity. You're going to have to find a different way to train the dog in front of you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think as a point on there, when you say about nobody is saying about, I would love to be able to take any dog. I would absolutely love it. Lift up your ear and say, listen, sweetheart, do this. Okay, it's going to be absolutely fantastic for you. Don't do that. You'll avoid all this sort of stuff. We're going to live a cracking life. Okay, nice one. Let's crack on. I would love to be able to do that, to not use any kind of intervention at all apart from my love for you. But I can't. I simply can't do that because that's not how an animal learns. And an animal, we're no different. There's this sort of, with dogs, it's odd. It's really odd. It's like we divide them from the rest of mammal society, for the rest of social living groups, and say they don't require this kind of information. Humans do. We've got an entire penal system. I was a member of law enforcement. I know exactly what happens with transgressions from the norm in human society, and it can go pretty high depending on which country you're living in. And other primates do, or any kind of like social group, felines do, canid groups do. But with dogs, it's almost as though we deny them that. We deny them the right to learn from their own experiences and the consequences brought about by their own experiences, because ultimately, and I consider it to be selfish, and I'm saying this to former Jamie, who would have sat here and argued blue in the face against what I'm saying here if myself of several years ago was sat there. Ultimately, I'm doing that because it feels good to me. I want to feel that it feels good and it feels right. Whether it is right, I don't want to know about that. It feels good. It feels better. How can I be wrong if all I'm doing is nice things? And I deny and block out the rest.
I think that comes back to like where we started the conversation though, is I hate to give another terminology in it to anything or another term to anything. But if you go into your training and you say it's value based and it's based on my values, which I think is pretty much how everybody comes into training. And my value says my job is to take the best care possible of my dog and understand what that means. It doesn't mean letting them get away with things, and it doesn't mean kicking two colours of crap out of them. It means what's best. How can I teach this dog using the best methods for this dog, for the dog to get the message? If you go into dog training that way, I think, like you said, you can't go far wrong in my eyes. I really see how you can't, because you've got, in the end of the day, we've got to get through to the dog the things that, and not that the dog's doing things wrong, because the dog's just living a dog's life. It never does what it would perceive as being wrong. As far as a dog on a counter is concerned, why can't I go up there? I've lived many thousands of years doing exactly what I wanted to do, and nobody had a problem with it. Why can I not do this now? It's not about that. It's about making it that they can live in human society and live without any issues.
It's about being responsible. It's about having more than my own personal beliefs at stake, do you know, and as a priority. It's about me thinking, no, you can't do that. You cannot do that, because minor things. If you want to pick up your retriever and you carry around my socks or whatever, crack on, pal. Or I've got no issue with that. But things where I think that is going to be problematic for you, because I know as a member of this society, I've taken you on. I've taken you, I can call you my baby, I can call you whatever the hell I want to call you. It doesn't really matter. I've taken you into my life, but I don't live in a bubble. I live in a society or a family or a world that expects things from you that I might think that's not a bit, but they're expected from you. And if I don't allow that, if I don't cause you to realize that and act in certain ways, you won't live a very fulfilled, or in many cases, very long life. It's just it's ridiculous to a degree that we're even having to have a conversation where you're saying that providing an animal the boundaries required and the information, the experiences to understand those boundaries so that it acts upon them in a society that demands them on pain of death in many instances if you go wrong, is wrong. I don't, or that I have to do it in this way. Someone might say, no, Jamie, you're talking absolute rubbish there. Of course we're saying that dogs need boundaries. What we're saying is that they don't need to experience negative things, aversive instances, and we can do it all in this way. But like you said, I mean, I've got so many videos of dogs, like one dog ignoring a fresh ribeye steak in front of her face while she's just sniffing for pheasants, a raw fed dog that 2 minutes later, when she's taken out of that context, wolfs the steak down. I've had dogs with entire chicken breasts in their mouth that just open their mouth. A Spinoni opens its mouth, drops a chicken breast out because I'm on task, and food isn't cutting it for me. I had dogs that have got a stent in the stomach because they can't eat because of a throat condition, so they're syringe fed. So I can't train you with food. I can't train you with stuff that goes into your mouth. I've got to try and prevent that from happening. What am I to do with these sort of animals? Am I to say you don't fit the right mold. But if that animal requires something, that animal requires something, and ultimately I must be prepared to adjust in accordance with what I'm presented with and the needs of that animal and along with the owner.
I'm very aware of the amount of time I've kept you on here, and I'm sure you could talk about this for hours, because it is one of those.
You regret that.
You could go around for hours, but and not to open up an entire another podcast. But like, where do you see the future of dog training going? Because I'd like to see a shift back to more common sense, should we say, just common sense, like that. I think that would be enough if we can remember what common sense was. But do you think it's going to get worse? Because we already see, and I think social media is fabulous in some ways and dreadful in other, but we already see things about asking my dog permission if I could put on the lead. With that, again, that is a completely different podcast. But where do you see it going genuinely?
I think it's very easy to take a pessimistic view, and it's very easy to say this is all going down the pan. We need to resist, we need to fight and get angry about it, or to throw your hands up in the air and think, oh, I give up, or go underground and do what you do anyway and don't say anything. I'm a believer that if social media, if we could flick a switch and social media was switched off now, these sort of conversations wouldn't be happening, because the entire situation wouldn't exist, because there's nobody to convince. There's no way of convincing them. It's a social media phenomena, really, where this has become such a big thing. So I think where I see it going is wherever people are prepared to let it go. So if you think this is the way that I see it, and I'm prepared to promote myself, I'm prepared to promote my beliefs based on my experiences, That's the thing. I won't step into an arena and debate something I have no experience of. That makes me pig ignorant. Do you know, I've got to at least have an understanding of it. But if I'm going to not debate it, that's not the right way to say, but certainly criticize it. If I'm going to go into you and say, look, working dogs at a shoot is absolutely wrong because it's such and such. I don't work dogs at shoots. I'm not in a position to be able to say that to you. So it would be wrong of me to say anything. Or if I thought it was great, I don't know. I don't know enough. So the onus is on me to find out more. If I want to take a podium and start saying what's right or wrong about something, the more I can know about that, certainly the more I can experience it, the more sound my judgments are going to be. So if people are prepared to think, no, I've experienced this myself, I know whatever the topic is, and just not necessarily jump on and slam down arguments on other forums or whatever. Arguments, they feed on that. If somebody puts a post on, these bloody ladies gun dog, they're there, and no one says anything, it's gone. Do you know what I mean? But if everybody then jumps on, then it feeds and it gets pushed and it becomes a thing. Largely, I think, do what you do. Be proud of what you do. If you're working in the best interest of your animal and other animals, and you're working in accordance with laws and decent ethical compass, moral compass that you've got there, be proud of it. Show your work. Talk about what you do. If somebody comes on with negative comments where they just want to slam you down, let it go. Don't feed it. If you feed it, it will grow. Let it go. Ignore it. My wife's better at this than me. Lou would just say, just let it go, or whatever. And sometimes I think, or I can find myself clanging an answer with this citation and this reference where I must tell this person how. And I was driving through Plymouth, and I just thought, Lou was with me, and I just was driving along, his car went past, and I just thought, and I said, there they are. And Lou said, who? I said, that person who got me so wild up yesterday that I'm punching away keys and losing sleep and raising my blood pressure about what they said. There they went. I never actually saw them. I never will see them. I don't know them. I never will know them. They've got no interest in knowing me, and probably vice versa. But I'm letting them steal my life. Whereas I could just say, this is me. This is what I do. I'm okay with it. This is my animal or my animals. They're okay with it. Let's just go on. And I'll defend if there comes a time when I think there's something that I could do to help there. If, like, I've asked people in the past, many occasions, to send letters to their MP, pushing against things where I think this is wrong. And that's a private thing. Nobody else knows that you've done it apart from you and your MP where you sent your letter to. But if opportunities like that arise and you think, yeah, I will make my voice heard, rather than, no, I'll put my head back down here because I'll lose. What I'm trying to defend will be taken from me if I'm not prepared to just do what's right, show myself, show my dog, not argue with people, not get drawn into these insane debates in many instances that are more about the debates themselves than they are what either side represents, and just show my dog, enjoy my dog, be proud of what I do. That's where I would like to see things going. I'd like to see some kind of unification if everybody thought the same way, so that essentially you turn the switch off on those kind of debates because they're wholly unnecessary. Everybody hates abuse. Everybody hates people who are cruel to animals. Nobody would want to be that person. And so I think if everybody agrees that and just lets one another get on with living their short lives with the dogs that they have in accordance with their needs, then that's where we need to go.
It's got to be possible because we have a free group with 8,500 women who don't fight. They all come from different backgrounds. Majority of them have working dogs. Some have German Shepherds, some have pugs that pick up, some have poodles that pick up, some have crossbreeds. In our house, we've got 2 Spaniels who are treated one way, and we have this crossbreed Pouchon thing, which is definitely without doubt treated like a spoiled child. And I'm thinking it's what works for us. And I'm thinking in the group, if we can all come in, it doesn't matter what picture you put up, as long as, like I said, you're being kind and you're loving your animal and doing the best for them and all that, is possible. So I think we just keep on with that, don't we? We just keep on saying, I'm going to have an open mind to somebody else's point of view. And I might not completely agree with them, but I will open my mind to what they say and consider it. Because I think if we ponder what other people think and take that away and look at it from an objective view and not a judgmental view, there might be something and we think they have a point there, or they don't have a point there, but I can't see where that's coming from. And then we can all progress, and surely that's what this should be about. To see the best version of dog training in the world, we should all want to progress dog training together.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think that I don't want or expect or anything that anybody would think, I want to be Jamie Penrith. I want to be the next Jamie Penrith. I wouldn't want to be the next that person. But if I think so, you don't have to think like me. You don't have to share everything, every experience and agree on every course of action that I would agree on. That's fine. It's healthy. It's perfectly normal to disagree. But to hate, because somebody has a different approach, because their experiences are different, their circumstances are different, they see their things as different, that's problematic. Open-mindedness is very difficult. I think even a lot of people who say I am open-minded, probably I've got bias. I've got bias towards certain views that I hold and stuff. I'll listen to people, but I think even as much as I'd love to say I have none, of course I do, because I have my experiences and my views based upon what I've done. But I wouldn't hate you or say that you're wrong or say that you must do what I do because you do something different. That's the problem. You can have differences, but that's fine. Accept it. I may strongly disagree with what you do, but that doesn't give me the right to say what you must do based on what I do. That would be a good lesson for people to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And to wrap this up, it goes back to the fact, like you mentioned right at the beginning of this, who you were 5 years ago is not who you are today. There is no point fighting viciously for your views today when in a year's time your views might have completely changed on something, because life changes us in ways we cannot say. If somebody had said to me, you won't go out on shoots again, I would be like, of course I do. This saved me. It literally saved me from a very dark place with my PTSD. Now I don't want to go on a shoot because my situation's changed. Something that happened to me, a heightened emotional point, has changed what I feel about things. So I think it's about that, isn't it? It's about saying, actually, I've got to keep in mind that what I agree with today might not be what I agree with tomorrow, but I know my values, because values tend to not change in us. My values will stay the same. I will always want to see fairness. I will always want to see kindness. And I will always want to see high welfare practices.
Exactly. And I think if everybody would, in their own way, just say, these are my goals, this is what I'm aiming for, then I think we'd be sailing in the same direction. One thing, just, I know you're wrapping up, but one thing briefly on that, but there's lots of people that I've worked with. I work more with women than I do with blokes. I don't know why that is. Whether it's because blokes think they can do everything and women are more receptive by nature, more open-minded by nature. I don't care. I'll challenge blokes. I'm willing to take that battle. But I do work with more women than fellas. And often when we're training, you probably all find it amongst yourselves as well. You end up having conversations about stuff that are probably quite unrelated to training, but you find that you ultimately you do tend to share a common sort of sensitivity and compassion towards certain things. Do you know what I mean? So you might be somebody who I might be seen as somebody who's coming from a certain end of the spectrum, but you're not. You're not. You're all, when you work with animals, if you're genuinely working with them for the right reason, we end up having some really conversations where afterwards you think, why did I tell him that? Why did I open up for that? Do you know what I mean? It's like a counselling session or something, and vice versa. And you end up having a laugh. It's good fun. And I think that sense of light-heartedness, I couldn't train in dogs where it's all rigid and regimented and staid and this, that, and the other. And that's not for me. Very often, you're probably the same, but very often I just think wrap it in because it's a fight. It's a fight to try and educate, not argue, but to educate. And sometimes you think, why don't I just become one of those people who just walks along, does what they want to do, doesn't care about anyone. But yeah, I think the more people that do come together and be prepared to be proud and happy about what we're doing is only a good thing.
I don't think you could be quiet the same way I couldn't be quiet, though, because I think if your values base has within it justice, I think if that is one of your values, you have to not stick up for what's right, because right is very subjective, but you have to point out where something's not being completely, it's just not being completely represented in the right way. We see what's happening in the fact that one part of dog training is not being represented fairly, and the justice value in us says, no, you can't stand back from that conversation, because how else do you balance it? How do you how else do you allow people to have a balanced opinion if they're only hearing one side of the story? And I think that's something that our group is very good at. We sit back and allow that open story or those open values to be shared, so that we can see either side of that in order to move forward. Got to let you go now, because I've had you on here for nearly 2 hours,
Yeah, no
and
worries.
this will have to be a part 1 and a part 2 within our group, within our podcast. Otherwise, people who went out for a walk with their dog, people will be reporting them missing. We don't want that. For anyone who wants to get in touch with you to have a conversation, to speak to you about Ardo, or to speak to you about something that they've got going on with their dog, how can they find all the information?
So I have a website which is taketheleadtraining.co.uk. Ardo is joinardo.com, joinardo.com. But if you want to speak to me directly, I've got an email address, jamie@taketheleadtraining.co.uk, or 07712 481. There's a personal mobile number. So if you think, as long as you're not going to phone up screaming and shouting about how evil I am and what should happen to my children at birth, etc. If people just want to have a chat or try and understand things a little bit further in respect to their dogs, then by all means.
If you are listening in America or Canada, where we have large populations of people listening in, please allow for the time delay.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you. It's been absolutely incredible. I'm sure we'll be doing more stuff with you in the future. Thank you for giving up your time, because I know you don't do this very often. We do massively appreciate it. For our listeners, please share the podcast. Please be part of the conversation. Allow people to see both sides of the story and then make their decisions from that point. And if you have any sort of emails you want to send me, anything that you want to feedback, please do. Please review, please subscribe, and we shall see you all next week. That's it for today's episode. A massive thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to head over to the LWDG and sign up for our membership. Get access to expert-led training, a wonderfully supportive community, and the resources you need to become a confident and skilled gun dog trainer. Let's take this journey together, because no woman should have to train her gun dog alone. We'll see you all next week.